Hello, welcome those who are joining. Hello, Ricky. We are just giving some time for people to come in. Hello, Gregory. This is our second week starting an hour early, continuing to see how this goes. I hope the chair doesn't indicate any sore muscles. No, it just indicates where the computer is on the table. And we'll give it about one more minute, then we'll get started. Sharing screen. Just double check. Yeah, all's good. All right. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Mano pubangama dhamma manusetta manomaya manasa che padutte na basativa karotiva ato nang dukam manveti chakkang vavahato padang mano pubangama dhamma manusetta manomaya manasa che pasane na basativa karotiva ato nang sukam manveti chaya va anapayani. Anicca vata sankhara upada vayadamino upajitva nirujjanti te sangupasumo sukho sabba papassa akaranang kusalasa upasampada sachitta pariyodapanang etang buddhana sasanang tanti paramang tapotittika nibbanang paramang vadanti buddha Nahi pabbajito parubhagati samanohoti parang vihetayanto anupavado anupagato patimoke cha sangvaro matanyuta cha batasming pantancha sayanasanang adichitte cha ayogo etang buddhana sasanang. English. Closing recollection. All actions are led by the mind. Mind is their master. Mind is their maker. Actors speak with a defiled state of mind, then suffering follows, as the cartwheel follows the foot of the ox. All actions are led by the mind. Mind is their master. Mind is their maker. Actors speak with a pure state of mind, and happiness follows, as your shadow follows you without departing. Impermanent are all conditioned things, affected by rising and falling away. Having arisen, they then must cease. Blissful is it when they subside. Abstaining from all evil, doing what is good, cleansing one's mind. This is the teaching of all the Buddhas. Patience is the highest practice. Nibbana is supreme, say the Buddhas. A mendicant does not harm others, a recluse oppresses no one. Not insulting, not harming, restrained according to the moral code, moderating in food, dwelling in solitude, engaging in higher mental development. This is the teaching of all the Buddhas. All right, friends, welcome. It is Monday night, so it is time for another Dhammapalooza, a 2-hour festival of Dhamma with the Maggaseka community that consists of a variety of different Dhamma-related activities. We just did some chanting. Later, maybe we'll do some meditation. And what else we'll do? Well, that will depend on the community, as this is always a community-guided event. There's a variety of things we can do. So right now we have the availability to, if you have any questions you can that you'd like me to answer, you can put the questions in the chat. If you have any Dhamma talk topics you'd like me to give a Dhamma talk about, you can put that in the chat. If you have a topic you'd like the community to discuss together, you can put that in the chat. And if nobody has anything, then we can always read a sutta. I always have a sutta in my back pocket. So I'll give a little bit of time for the chat. Not too many of us on this early. I think people still getting used to the time change. But as with most live streaming things on the internet, more people end up watching it after it's live than during the live. And that is still true on the Maggaseka YouTube as well. Hello, Visaka. Good to see you. All right. Well, why don't we read a sutta? Let's do Majjhima Nikaya number 98 with Vasettha. Oh, Visakha has a question. Any tips on how I can control my bad habit of eating in the evening? I can come up with every excuse of why I need to eat something, typically ice cream. So this seems to be like a snack or um, a dessert kind of a habit. Uh, Normally, what I would say is, make sure that you are getting all the nutrition you need within the meals that you have. Um, and if that's the case, then it's a matter of habit in uh, choosing and trying and making it a habit of not eating anything past a certain time. I try to make it for myself. I have no calories past 7. That's a hard out. 7 o'clock. It's any like evening allowables that I might have. Between 5 and 7, that I brush my teeth, and that's it. And so I know after my teeth is brushed, after the time is passed, nothing until 11 o'clock the next day. And because as long as I have enough for my one meal and I have a little bit of snacks in the evening, then my mind is content with that. It's okay. So it's a matter of you can reflect. Do you really need it? You can make these cues, these activities, like past a certain time or after I brush my teeth, nothing. You kind of set these habit cues, and once you've attempted that over time, then you can see that they actually work, and it doesn't. It's not so much suffering trying. It's not so much willpower trying to refrain, because your mind just naturally knows. Oh well, it's this time. And there's also in addition to making sure that any electronic devices you're using at night has like a red filter, not having any blue light within a couple hours of your bedtime, not eating, all of these things actually impact your sleep. So you can reflect on that as well. All right, Visaka. I'm glad that was beneficial. But why don't we read Sutta with Vasettha? So I have heard at one time the Buddha was staying in a forest near Ichanangala. Now at that time, several very well known, well to do Brahmins were residing in Ichanangala. They included the Brahmins Chanki. Chanki is a very famous Brahmin. You see him in a variety of different suttas. Taruka, Pokkarasadi, Janusoni, same with these as well. Todeya, and others. Then, as the Brahmin students, Vasettha and Bharadvaja, were going for a walk, they began to discuss the question: how do you become a Brahmin? Bharadvaja said this: when you're well born on both your mother and father's side, of pure descent, with irrefutable and impeccable genealogy back to the 7th paternal generation, then you're a Brahmin. Vasettha said this: when you're ethical and accomplished in doing your duties, then you're a Brahmin. But neither was able to persuade the other. I see your question, Gregory. We'll go to that question after we finish with the sutta. But neither was able to persuade the other. So Vasettha said to Bharadvaja, Master Bharadvaja, the ascetic Gautama, a Sakyan, gone forth from a Sakyan family, is staying in a forest near Ichanangala. He has this good reputation. This is the qualities of the Buddha. The Blessed One is perfected, a fully awakened Buddha, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, holy, knower of the world, supreme guide for those who wish to train, teacher of gods and humans, awakened and blessed. Come, let's go to him and ask him about this matter. As he answers, so we'll remember it. Yes, sir, replied Bharadvaja. So they went to the Buddha and exchanged greetings with him. When the greetings and polite conversation were over, they sat down to one side, and Vasettha addressed the Buddha in verse. We're both authorized masters of the three Vedas. I'm a student of Pokarasadi, and he of Tarukka. We're fully qualified in all the Vedic experts teach. As philologists and grammarians, we match our teachers in recitation. We have a dispute regarding genealogy. For Bharadvaja says that one is a Brahmin due to birth, but I declare it's because of one's actions. O clear-eyed one, know this as our debate. Hello, Dharma learner. Very good. I'm glad to see that you caught me on Dhamma USA. Always enjoy spending time with Bhante Sumita, and even after the Dhamma talk and the Q&A, we spoke for another like 40 minutes on a variety of different things related to like Buddhism in America and things like that. It was a good conversation. All right, back to the sutta. Since neither of us was able to convince the other, we've come to ask you, sir, renowned as the awakened one, as people honor with joined palms the moon on the cusp of waxing, bowing they revere Gautama in the world. We ask this of Gautama, the eye arisen in the world. Is one a Brahmin due to birth or because of actions? We don't know. Please tell us, so we can recognize a Brahmin. I shall explain to you, said the Buddha. This it came to my mind being around some Sri Lankan monastics. I've heard multiple times. I explain you. I explain you. All right. Accurately and in sequence, the taxonomy of living creatures for species are indeed diverse. Know the grass and the trees. Though they lack self-awareness, they're defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. Next, there are bugs and moths, and so on. Ants and termites. They're defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. Know the quadrupeds, too, both small and large. They're defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. Know, too, the long-backed snakes, crawling on their bellies. They're defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. Next, know the fish, whose habitat is the water. They're defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. Next know the birds, flying with wings as chariots. They're defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. While the difference between these species are defined by birth, the differences between humans are not defined by birth. Not by hair, nor by head. Not by eye or ear, nor by eye. Not by mouth, nor by nose. Not by lips, nor by eyebrow. Not by shoulder, nor by neck. Not by belly, nor by back. Not by buttocks, nor by breast. Not by groin, nor by genitals. Not by hands, nor by feet. Not by fingers, nor by nails. Not by knees, nor by thighs. Not by color, nor by voice. None of these are defined by birth, as it is for other species. In individual human bodies, you can't define such distinctions. The distinctions among humans are spoken of by convention, meaning they're kind of like not made up per se, but they're not necessarily inherent, like the plumage of a certain bird versus the feathers of another bird, kind of. Anyone among humans, anyone among humans who lives off keeping cattle, know them Vasettha. As a farmer, not a Brahmin. Anyone among humans who lives off various professions, know them Vasettha as a professional, not a Brahmin. Anyone among humans who lives off trade, know them Vasettha as a trader, not a Brahmin. Anyone among humans who lives off serving others, know them Vasettha as an employee, not a Brahmin. Welcome to those who are joining with us on this Dhammapalooza. Anyone among humans who lives off stealing, know them Vasettha as a choro, as a bandit, a thief, not a Brahmin. Anyone among humans who lives off archery, know them Vasettha as a soldier, a Yoda, not a Brahmin. A lot of these words, like bandit, merchant, thief, etc., are very basic words. Like when you start learning Pali and you take something like the uh, the Pali primer, and you're like writing out sentences, and it's like the thief does this, the merchant does this. So, all right. Anyone among humans who lives off priesthood, know them Vasettha as a sacrificer, not a Brahmin. Anyone among humans who taxes villages and nation, know them Vasettha as a ruler, not a Brahmin. I don't call someone a Brahmin after the mother or womb that they came from. If they still have attachments, they're just someone who says sir. Having nothing, taking nothing, that's who I call a Brahmin. Having cut off all fetters, they have no anxiety. They've slipped their chains and are detached. That's who I call a Brahmin. So in this sutta, you see very specifically what the Buddha does to a variety of aspects of the Brahmanic culture that he grew up in. Right? He's redefining what it means to be a Brahmin. This is why you'll often hear him talk about, when he's talking about like Arya, like noble beings, like wise beings, you'll hear him say often, ascetics and Brahmins, right? He's not talking about random wanderers and random Brahmins. He's talking about basically very highly advanced beings. They've cut the straps and harness, the reins and bridle too. With crossbar lifted, they're awakened. That's who I call a Brahmin. Abuse, killing, caging, they endure these without anger. An allusion to the simile of the saw. Patience is their powerful army. That's who I call a Brahmin. I quite like that. Patience is a powerful army. I remember that. Not irritable or stuck up. Dutiful in precepts and observances. Tamed, bearing their final body. That's who I call a Brahmin. Like rain off a lotus leaf. Like a mustard seed off the point of a pin. Sensual pleasures slip off them. That's who I call a Brahmin. They understand for themselves the end of suffering in this life, with burden put down, detached. That's who I call a Brahmin. Deep in wisdom, intelligent, expert in the variety of paths, arrived at the highest goal. That's who I call a Brahmin. Socializing with neither householders nor homeless, no monastics or households. A migrant with no shelter, few in wishes. That's who I call a Brahmin. No shelter. Huh. That's interesting. Doesn't actually, I'm pretty sure this does not actually mean like an actual like hut. This is an interesting, could be. Although shelter is one of the requisites that people give to monastics. So, they've laid aside violence against creatures firm and frail, not killing or making others kill. That's who I call a Brahmin. Not fighting among those who fight, extinguished among those who are armed, not taking among those who take. That's who I call a Brahmin. They've discarded greed and hate, along with conceit and contempt, like a mustard seed off the point of a pin. That's who I call a Brahmin. The words they utter are sweet, informative, and true, and don't offend anyone. That's who I call a Brahmin. They don't steal anything in the world, long or short, fine or coarse, beautiful or ugly. That's who I call a Brahmin. This is you don't see this actually um, when talking about that precept. Uh, basically pointing towards justifications one might have. You know, oh, this is not a fancy. Nobody will miss this. I'll just take it. Right? There's all kinds of justifications we might have. Like what's the typical like taking pen or taking office supplies from your business that the corporation or the organization that you work for. Oh, they won't, they have lots of money. They won't miss it. No, it doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with anything. It's whether you take what is not given. They have no hope for this world or the next. With no need for hope, detached. That's who I call a Brahmin. They have no clinging. Knowledge has freed them of indecision. They're arrived at the culmination of the deathless. So they have no hope. They also have no indecision. Right? This is all kind of like being attached to the world, hoping for a good future rebirth. I hope that my next life I'll be in the heaven. These kind of things. They've gone beyond these things. They've arrived at the culmination of the deathless. That's who I call a Brahmin. They've escaped the snare of Mara, of both good and bad deeds, sorrowless, stainless, and pure. That's who I call a Brahmin. Pure as the spotless moon, clear and undisturbed. They've ended desire to be reborn. That's who I call a Brahmin. They've got past this grueling swamp of delusion, transmigration, meditating in stillness, free of indecision. They have crossed over to the far shore. They're extinguished not by grasping. That's who I call a Brahmin. They've given up sensual stimulations and have gone forth from lay life. They've ended rebirth in the sensual realm. That's who I call a Brahmin. They've given up craving and have gone forth from lay life. They've ended craving to be reborn. That's who I call a Brahmin. They've thrown off the human yoke and slipped out of the heavenly yoke, unyoked from all yokes. That's who I call a Brahmin. So this is perhaps not an illusion, but very similar to in the suttas, the where a person, I forgot the person's name. It's a very famous meeting, and the Buddha is just newly awakened, and the person meets him on the road. He's passing him on the road, and asks him, notices this, his demeanor, his countenance, and stuff, and asks him like, "Who are you? Are you human? Are you divine?" He etc. He asks them, "Are you animal? Are you this? Are you that? Or what are you?" And the Buddha says that anything that would, what's the specifics? Not keep me attached, but anything that would define me as a human, as a deva, as a this or that, has been abandoned. Know me as one who has become awakened. And so this is somebody who is unyoked from all yokes, right? Human, deva, hell realm, whatever yoke, right? Whatever type of rebirth in samsara, freed from all of that. That's who I call a Brahmin. Giving up discontent and desire, they're cooled and free of attachments. A hero, master of the whole world. Let's see this word here. Sabbaloka Bhibhu. Huh. There's a one of the main disciples of the Buddha, Sikhi, was Abhibhu. So that's the word there. Master, I guess. Yeah. They know the passing away and rebirth of all beings. Unattached, wholly awakened. That's who I call a Brahmin. Gods, centaurs, and humans don't know their destiny. Don't know. Gandhava. There we go. Don't know their destiny. The perfected ones with defilements ended. That's who I call a Brahmin. They have nothing before or after, or even in between. Having nothing, taking nothing, that's who I call a Brahmin. Leader of the herd, excellent hero, great seer and victor, unstirred, washed, awakened. That's who I call a Brahmin. They know their past lives and see heaven and place of loss, and have attained the end of rebirth. That's who I call a Brahmin. For name and clan are formulated as mere convention in the world, produced by mutual agreement. They're formulated for each individual. For a long time, this misconception has prejudiced those who don't understand. Ignorant, they declare that one is a Brahmin by birth. You're not a Brahmin by birth, nor by birth a non Brahmin. You're a Brahmin by your deeds, and by deeds, a non Brahmin. You're a farmer by your deeds. By deeds, you're a professional. You're a trader by your deeds. By deeds, you're an employee. You're a bandit by your deeds. By deeds, you're a soldier. You're a sacrificer by your deeds. By deeds, you're a ruler. In this way, the astute regard deeds in accord with the truth, seeing dependent origination. They're expert in deeds and their results. Deeds make the world go on. Deeds make people go on. Go on. Where? Samsara. Keep going on to the next life. Sentient beings are bound by deeds, like a moving chariot's linchpin. By fervor and spiritual practice, by restraint and by self-control. That's how to become a Brahmin. This is the supreme Brahmin. Accomplished in the three knowledges. Peaceful with rebirth ended. Three knowledges are knowledge of your past lives, knowledge of how beings are born are in accordance to their karma, and destruction of the taints. Peaceful with rebirth ended. Know them, Vasettha, as Brahma and Saka to the wise. When he had spoken, Vasettha and Bharadvaja said to him, Excellent Master Gotama, excellent. As if he were righting the overturned, or revealing the hidden, or pointing out the path to the lost, or lighting a lamp in the dark so people with clear eyes can see what's there. Master Gotama has made the teaching clear in many ways. We go for refuge to the Master Gotama, to the teaching, and to the mendicant Sangha. From this day forth, may Master Gotama remember us as lay followers who have gone for refuge for life. All right, friends. So let's cover the chat. Gregory has a question here. Some meditation teachers only teach putting your hands on top of each other. I have seen others put their hands on their knees, assuming postures is okay. Doesn't matter. No. Well, some people are really big into the mudras. So they have the different hand positions and the, things like that. I'm not a master at that. And I have never really, the position of my hands has never really been important for me. I've tried all the different positions. I've tried like this. I've tried one hand on my knee and one hand on my lap. I've tried all different kinds of positions. For me, what's most important is observing how the position of your hands, you've done enough guided meditations with me. You see how the position of your elbows and hands impacts your posture, how it impacts your spine. That's, in my opinion, the most important thing. Are they in a position that are supportive of your posture, not causing any trouble, and just, being there? Now, you're not really supposed to be, if you're following your breath, you're not supposed to be paying attention to your hands. Now, I will say there's one exemption to this. And that exemption is I heard by, what's his name? Bodhipaksha, the lay gentleman who does that great website, fakebuddhaquotes.org or com. And he was talking about this hand position where the thumbs are meeting. And what he was mentioning, what he said about them made perfect sense to me, and I use it to this day. He says using the thumbs touching as an early warning sign for sloth and torpor. Like as you're starting to kind of nod off and like drift, your thumbs come apart. And so if you're like following your breath and you notice that disconnect, That's one of the ways you can notice before you go too far that you're falling into some kind of sloth and torpor. So that position, I think, can it has a very practical reason, and I've used it and it works. So I encourage that. Um, but other than that, I really don't think the mudras and everything matter all that much. Could be wrong. This is where you have to try it and see for yourself, but it's not something that is very prominent in my practice. Hello, Rick. Good to see you. Dharma Learner has caught on as something that I've started doing on a more regular basis. It's something that I've done before, but not on a regular basis. But now I do it after the end of every stream, and I think it's a good thing. It's something I want to keep doing. In what form I'm going to do it, I don't know. That might change, but let's see here. Dharma Learner says, can you give us some insight on your recent past sign-off line? If we are all alive tomorrow, we will have another MME, Morning Monastery Experience. It sounds very depressing to me. Should I try to see it another way? With many dangerous situations we have been through during the pandemic, this tagline seems too much, sort of a PTSD for me. I have a tendency to dwell on the dangerous situations I can face when driving and other work-related incidents. Thank you. Ah, yeah. But this is reality, isn't it, though? The reality is that when we log off from this Dhammapalooza, some of us might not be around for the next one next week, including me. I don't know. I could be gone. My father, who's in his mid-70s, Catholic, anytime talking about death, it's so morbid. That's such a very, very typical human reaction, right? Somebody saying, well, if I'm alive, I'll see you next time. What do family members normally? I can tell you what my family members do. Maybe most family members are like this. Love you. See you later. Be safe. Drive safe. All words that are kind of like almost acting as like charms, like omens, like protective spells, paritas. Be safe. Drive safe. Stay flying. Of course, I mean, even I say that. I'll say safe travels. Um, and I don't necessarily mean them as like some kind of parita, but it's just like a kind of wish, like the Buddha, asked, when monks would come in, he'd say, how are you doing? Are you getting enough food, etc., etc., etc. It's just kind of like a nice thing to say. But this is part of the Buddhist path, is to reflect on that our time is limited. And yes, this might bring up some unpleasantness for you. This is true. But what that's a sign of is that you're not reflecting on death nearly enough. You're not reflecting on impermanence nearly enough. As you do that more and more, it won't be scary anymore. It won't feel morbid. It won't bring up any, I don't know if I bring up, I won't speak to PTSD. But the more you become comfortable with it, the less you suffer from the thought of it. So this is a very important part of the path. Just visited my 93-year-old uncle, so it's hitting hard. I have nobody in my family that's made it past like 70. Well, I guess my parents, but all of their parents except for one didn't make it past like 71. So I've experienced much, I guess, what we would call early death in my life and in my family. So it's I know some people just are kind of blessed with family members who are just like, oh yeah, my mom and dad are still alive. They're in their 90s. This is meanwhile, like, I've attended funerals from the time I was like 6 years old, at least one or two a year, for most of my childhood. Um, is what it is. But maybe 1 or 2 years a bit of an exaggeration. I don't know. I can't remember back too much, but I remember going to a lot of funerals when I was a kid. Um, so use that as a reflection. Yeah, Bante might not be around. Even if it's a bit afraid, even if you're a bit scared of thinking about yourself might not being around, think, yo, yeah, Bante might die. He likes to go for these walks. Some wacko might like run him over or shoot him or stab him or something. Who knows? Who knows what might happen to Bante? All right. Any questions, comments about the sutta that we read? Clarifications? Might be time for us to do our meditation. Lost your dad in his sleep. Well, I mean, there's a lot worse ways to go. I think most people kind of wish that and hope that they die in their sleep, don't they? So on the one hand, it's kind of like maybe a little jarring that, you go to bed and then you don't wake up. But on the other hand, that's a good reflection, and there's a lot worse ways to go than passing in your sleep. All right. I think it's time for us to do our meditation. So we'll do our meditation. Then after that, we'll do some Dhammapada verses, and I think we will um, call it a night after that. Set your body up in whatever comfortable and stable position works for you. We'll spend some time scanning through the body, starting from the feet, moving up to the head. Focus in on whatever feeling or sensation is arising in the feet, such as the feeling of the feet pressing against the floor, the cushion. Move up through the ankles into the calves. Remember, if you notice any small feelings of discomfort or imbalances, now's the time to adjust your posture so that you can minimize pain as we sit for a long time. Move up through the ankles into the calves, through the knees into the thighs. Up through to the hips and pelvis. Move up the spine through the abdomen and the chest. Up to the shoulders, making sure they're hanging loosely, not scrunched up and tight. Down through to the elbows and hands, observing how the position of the elbows and hands also impacts your posture. And finally, up to the head, checking that the head is also not leaning and slouching here or there. Chin parallel to the floor. When you're done setting up your body in that comfortable and stable position, let the body go and take 3 deep breaths. And then let the breath go. From here on in, try not to manipulate or control the breath in any way. Let the body do what it does. Your job is to simply observe, investigate, and abide with the breath. Whenever distracted away, remember to acknowledge, let go, return. Acknowledge, let go, and return to the breath. Always come back to the breath. Its home base. It's always there, doing its thing, ready for you to follow it towards a more calm and tranquil mind. Acknowledge, let go, and return. Every once in a while, check in with the state of your mind. Is your mind becoming more calm and tranquil or not? As it does, you may begin to see deeper, more subtle characteristics of the breath. Sometimes the breath is long and deep, sometimes short and shallow. See if you can investigate deeper, more subtle characteristics of impermanence, change, the cycle of the breath. As your mind becomes more tranquil, see if you can follow the full cycle, the full characteristics of the breath. Feeling of the body breathing in, then the brief period between exhalation and the lungs are full of air, and the body breathing out, the brief period before inhalation when the lungs are empty of air. See if you can follow the full cycle of the breath. Slowly open your eyes, becoming aware of the room around you, position of your body in it. Reflecting on the state of your mind from before the meditation to now, and contemplating any experiences you may have had during the meditation. And while you're doing that, we can read some Dhammapada. Rick and Jayanta, I don't know if you're still with us, but the last couple weeks we've been trying 7 p.m. The only thing that I think still says 8 p.m. Um, is the thumbnail, but all of my notifications, all of my posts um, that I've shared with even on the website, I've been very clearly saying 7 p.m. I know for many people, they're just, it's been 8 p.m. for what, 3 years now or so. Um, but I wanted to see if 7 p.m. might not be better for my own energy, for the people who join, Dhammapalooza from Europe and a little bit earlier. These kind of things, just kind of a test to see if starting an hour earlier is better overall. Probably gonna impact people on the West Coast most because they might still be at work when Dhammapalooza starts. When we do the 7 p.m. But the 7 p.m. Um, is something, and I think we'll try 7 p.m. next week as well. When I have good nutrition and I'm energetic, 8 to 10 might be good, but when I'm kind of battling with my energy and things like that, I think 7 might be better. Um, we'll have to see. I might end up going back to 8, but we're giving it a test. Every once in a while, it's good to try something new, test something out. So we do have time. The last couple of weeks, actually, for a while, we've been ending somewhat early because there just hasn't been activity. After the hour and a half mark or so. But if anybody, I see we have some people here, and if you have any questions you'd like me to answer, you can put the questions in the chat. Um, I was thinking that I was going to basically read some Dhammapada and call it a night, but since people are here, if you'd like to have a discussion or ask questions, you're free to do so. Yeah, Rick, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have to install the graphic program and do all that stuff to change that, or I'll probably just use a different picture for a while. Um, yeah, so that there's not that confusion of the 8 p.m. Actually, it was during the meditation that I remembered. Oh yeah, the thumbnail says 8 p.m. So, but I'll read some Dhammapada. Let's share. The elephant. We're coming close to the end of the Dhammapada again already. A couple more Dhammapaloozas and we'll be finished up. As an elephant in the battlefield withstands arrows shot from bows all around, even so shall I endure abuse. There are many indeed who lack virtue. A tamed elephant is led into a crowd, and the king mounts a tamed elephant. Best among men is the subdued one who endures abuse. Excellent are all well trained mules, thoroughbred Sindhu horses, and noble tusker elephants. But better still is the man who has subdued himself. Not by these mounts, however, would one go to the untrodden land, Nibbana, as one who is self tamed goes by his own tamed and well controlled mind. Musty during rut, the tusker named Dhanapalika is uncontrollable. Held in captivity, the tusker does not touch a morsel, but only longingly calls to mind the elephant forest. When a man is sluggish and gluttonous, sleeping and rolling around in bed like a fat domestic pig, that sluggard undergoes rebirth again and again. Formerly, this mind wandered about as it liked, where it wished, and according to its pleasure. But now I shall thoroughly master it with wisdom, as a mahout controls with his ankus an elephant in rut. Delight in heedfulness. Guard well your thoughts. Draw yourself out of this bog of evil, even as an elephant draws himself out of the mud. If for company you find a wise and prudent friend who leads a good life, you should, overcoming all impediments, keep his company joyously and mindful. If for company you cannot find a wise and prudent friend who leads a good life, then live like the king who leaves behind a conquered kingdom, or like a lone elephant in the elephant forest. You should go your way alone. Better it is to live alone. There is no fellowship with a fool. Live alone and do no evil. Be carefree like an elephant in the elephant forest. Good are friends when need arises. Good is contentment with the just what one has. Good is merit when life is at an end. And good is the abandoning of all suffering through our hardship. In this world, good as it is to serve one's mother, good it is to serve one's father, good it is to serve the monks, and good it is to serve the holy men. Good is virtue until life's end, good is faith that is steadfast, and good is the acquisition of wisdom, and good is the avoidance of evil. All right. Why don't we read one more? Craving. The craving of one given to heedless living grows like a creeper. Like the monkey seeking fruits in the forest, he leaps from life to life, tasting the fruit of his karma. Whoever is overcome by this wretched and sticky craving, his sorrows grow like grass after the rains. But whoever overcomes this wretched craving, so difficult to overcome, from him sorrows fall away like water from a lotus leaf. This I say to you, good luck to all assembled here. Dig up the root of craving, like one in search of the fragrant root of the birana grass. Let not Mara crush you again and again, as a flood crushes a reed. Just as a tree, though cut down, sprouts up again if its roots remain uncut and firm. Even so, until the craving that lies dormant is rooted out, suffering springs up again and again. The misguided man in whom the 36 currents of craving strongly rush toward pleasurable objects. The misguided man in whom the 36 currents of craving strongly rush towards pleasurable objects, a bit clunky, is swept away by the flood of his passionate thoughts. Everywhere these currents flow, and the creeper of craving sprouts and grows. Seeing that the creeper has sprung up, cut off its roots with wisdom. Flowing in from all objects and watered by craving, feelings of pleasure arise in beings, bent on pleasures and seeking enjoyment. These men fall prey to birth and decay. Beset by craving, people run about like an entrapped hare, held fast by mental fetters. They come to suffering again and again for a long time. Beset by craving, people run around like an entrapped hare. Therefore, one who yearns to be passion free should destroy his own craving. There is one who, turning away from desire for household life, takes to the life of the forest. But after being free from the household, he runs back to it. Behold that man, though freed, he runs back to that very bondage. That is not a strong fetter, the wise say, which is made of iron, wood, or hemp. But the infatuation and longing for jewels and ornaments, children and wives, that they say is a far stronger fetter, which pulls one downward through seemingly loose, or though seemingly loose, is hard to remove. This too the wise cut off, giving up sensual pleasure, and without any longing, they renounce the world. Those who are lust infatuated fall back into swirling currents like a spider on its self spun web. This too the wise cut off. Without any longing, they abandon all suffering and renounce the world. Let go of the past, let go of the future, let go of the present, and cross over to the further shore of existence. With mind wholly liberated, you shall come no more to birth and death. For a person tormented by evil thoughts, who is passion dominated and given to the pursuit of pleasure, his craving steadily grows. He makes the fetter strong indeed. He who delights in subduing evil thoughts, who meditates on the impurities and is ever mindful, it is he who will make an end of craving and rend asunder Mara's fetter. He who has reached the goal is fearless, free from craving, passionless, and has plucked out the thorns of existence. For him, this is the last body. He who is free from craving and attachment is perfect in uncovering the truth, meaning of the teaching, the true meaning of the teaching, and knows the arrangement of the sacred texts in correct sequence. He indeed is the bearer of his final body. He is truly called the profoundly wise one, the great man. A victor am I over all I have I known, yet unattached I am to all that is conquered and known. Abandoning all, I am freed through the destruction of craving. Having thus directly comprehended all by myself, whom shall I call my teacher? The gift of Dhamma excels all gifts. The taste of the Dhamma excels all tastes. Delight in the Dhamma excels all delights. The craving freed vanquishes all suffering. Riches ruin only the foolish, not those in quest of the beyond. By craving for riches, the witless man ruins himself as well as others. Weeds are the bane of fields. Lust is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of lust yields abundant fruit. Weeds are the bane of fields. Hatred is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of hatred yields abundant fruit. Weeds are the bane of field. Delusion is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of delusion yields abundant fruit. Weeds are the bane of fields. Desire is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of desire yields abundant. All right, friends. I guess we will do our final business and then share our merits and call it a night. And I apologize for those who are showing up at 8 o'clock thinking Dhammapalooza is just starting. Um, this is kind of bound to happen when times change. But hopefully next week, 7 p.m., the more we do the same time and the more I change the thumbnail, there should be less confusion. All right. So let's bring up the information. Okay, friends. So if you are joining for the first time, or if you've been following on the YouTube for a while, if you'd like to be kept informed about all that I do, I have a website. It's the website scrolling on the bottom of the screen, maggaseka.org, maggaseka.org. On this website, every time I make a new comment, anytime there's a new video, there's a new audio, there's a new article, there's a new retreat. We have a retreat, a metta retreat on Zoom at the end of this month. You can find all that information on this website, maggaseka.org. At the top right of the website, there's a place for you to put in your email. And if you put your email and subscribe, then anytime I post something new to the website, you will get an email notification. Same thing on the YouTube. If you click subscribe and click the bell, anytime a new video comes out, a new stream is happening, you will get notified. We also, in terms of regular activities, we have Dhammapalooza Monday nights. For now, historically, it's been at 8. For now, we're trying 7 to see if it's any better. Then we have, if you're on Insight Timer, Saturdays at 3 o'clock, I have an hour-and-a-half session on there. Dhamma talk, my meditation, and Q&A. You're always welcome to join that. And there's a few other things that I do when I have the energy and the time. I'm going to try to get back to doing Ask a Bhante on Wednesdays. So if you have any questions you'd like me to answer in a video, you can send me a question in any way that you know to contact me, and I'll answer it in a video, which will be of benefit for yourself, but also for others who might see it in the years to come. And I guess that's pretty much it. We also have our Discord, Maggaseka Discord community, which is a community that both in study and practice is based on the suttas, the early texts. If that is something that you would think you'd be interested in, you can send an email to the email on the screen, maggaseka@gmail.com, and ask for an invite. We have weekly sutta readings every Sunday for 7 years. We've been reading through the Nikayas. We are maybe close to halfway through at this point after 7 years. If you'd like to do sutta readings with us every Sunday, reading through all of the Nikayas page to page, you're welcome to join us. People also, there's various channels where you can get various resources, Dhamma resources. There's lay discussion, speaking with monastics. I'm not the only monastic on the community. We have Ayasa Dhamma. We have Venerable Patsana, who's in Australia. So you're welcome to check out this community. So let's share screen for sharing of merits. Share the screen for sharing. Okay. Dukkha patta chane dukkha, bhaya patta chane bhaya, sokha patta chane sokha, hontu sabbe pipaniyo, ettavata cha mehi sampadang punya sampadang, sabbe deva anumodantu, sabba sampatti sittiya, akasatta jabumata deva naga mahidika punyang tang anumoditva, charang rakantu sasanang. May the suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit of ours for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, nagas, and yakas of mighty power, share share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddhist dispensation. Sad, sad, sad. All right, friends. Suki Hotu, may you be well into these. Practice well and be well. May you have a spiritually successful and peaceful practice until we meet again. And if we're all around again, see you next week. See you at another event. Also, morning monastery experience. Every morning, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. If you'd like to join, I go live on this channel. And if you'd like to join for a half hour, it's meant to be kind of like giving you the experience of what a morning session at a monastery would be like. We do precepts, we do some chanting, and we do some Dhamma learning as well. Little Dhamma talk and little Dhamma commentary on various things that we're chanting and going through. So it's a good half-hour session to start today. So join us Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Live here on this channel. Have a good night, friends.